This is for people who feel stuck. If you feel like you don't know how to get out of that hole that you're in. So, this video is about how I overcame depression, strategies for overcoming depression, anxiety, and addiction, and finding lasting happiness and sobriety as well. I've been an addict for 15 years. I started using drugs and drinking when I was 15 years old, and I turned 30 just last year, at the end of last year. And I don't think that I spent very much time within that span of time. I think the longest I went completely sober was maybe a month in 15 years. Aside from when I was pregnant, I spent maybe a month sober through 15 years. I was only pregnant one time, but I'm not very proud of that. I've done a lot of analyzation over my lifetime in general because I'm a highly analytical person. I've had quite a bit of depressive episodes as well throughout my life. When I was in high school, it kind of got to its worst, I think. And then, through every circumstance in my life that I had, things would go good, and I would be happy, and then things would not be so good, and then I would get really depressed. So I had pretty high highs and pretty low lows. And because during the highs, I was usually high or drunk. And when it was low, I was also high or drunk. And I spent too much time in those states, but I feel like it was also rewarding in its own way. And I've learned a lot of lessons. The worst bout of depression that I ever suffered through, in my opinion, was in 2020. I had a 2-year-old and a husband, and, it just was missing out on my life. And so this is for people who feel stuck. If you feel like you don't know how to get out of that hole that you're in, if you feel alone, if you feel nervous or anxious, if you feel like you are tired of where you're at, if you feel displaced, like if you had just moved in with family too, there's a lot of things going on right now. There's a lot of hard times falling on people. And we are all starting to question why. And a lot of people, I used to be like this too, and I still can be sometimes, but you start to go towards this pity on yourself, and you start to circle all of that negative energy around yourself. But there's a bigger picture, there's a bigger plan, and we'll get to that. This is for you if you need it. This is like actionable steps that you can take to get out of this. Because when you are in those deep, dark holes of depression and just sadness or addiction, and it's just taken you over, you don't know your way out. You cannot see your way out. Let this be a helping hand to help you out, to guide you on your way out, because I would have loved to have something like this when I was in there. And I just kind of trusted my instincts a little more than normal. But I had a lot of drive because I had my daughter there she's still so cute, but she was only like 2 or 3, I think. And she was adorable and just the light of everyone's life. And I couldn't let her down. And it was time for me to snap out of that depression. And I had stopped drinking, which was a big, big deal. Side note, if you drink alcohol, no judgment, that is something that is bringing you down. 100%. It is absolutely part of why you're feeling so low right now. If you need help, I've got a resource down in the description box, a resource list of addiction help and mental health services help and stuff like that, helplines. Seek help if you need it. I had already sought help. This is why I did things this way. So maybe you've tried therapies, maybe you've tried groups or whatever. At this point in my life, I had tried AA and NA classes, behavior therapy, substance abuse treatment, like one-on-one counselors and group counseling. And none of it was sticking with me. I didn't resonate with any of those, but also I could probably attribute it to the fact that I wasn't ready in any of those times. And to be honest, at that point, when I pulled myself out of the depression, I had stopped drinking, but I can't say that I stopped using drugs because I was still on Suboxone. Since then, I had picked it up off and on over the last 4 years. Sometimes you have to take it step by step, and that's okay. As long as you are going forward, as long as you can see that hope, as long as, like, it did so much for my spiritual morale, like my ability to stay not being depressed, or this range of happiness, I guess. There's always things that happen. I've been going through a whole lot of shit in the last 4 years too. And so just because I pulled myself out of that doesn't mean that it's not tempting to go back, like a lot sometimes. But I've built up through this strategy system, I've built up lots of ways to keep myself out of it. And they're like a defense system all around me that I can make sure that I'm not letting in that energy that sucks me down and pulls me into that space. Hopefully this helps you. First step is acceptance. And this is acceptance in more than one way. Lots of people, including myself, refuse to accept help from people because they don't want to admit the problem to somebody. You have to tell somebody if you're going to need help. That brings a whole level of like shame on you, and like it's such a mess, and you don't need to feel that way about yourself. There are people that want to help you, whether you have them around you immediately or not. There's always somebody that's going to help you. And if you can't find anybody to help you, reach out to me, because I'll help you. And there's just, you are valuable and you're worth more than your addiction, than your depression, than your mental anxiety traps, because that's what they are. They're traps, they're programs that you have succumbed to, and you can get out of them. So accepting help from another person, you really shouldn't do this alone. I did this alone, and I wish that I wouldn't have. It was not easy. I don't suggest it. If you can find a friend or a sibling, a parent, a family member, a mentor, anyone, or a therapist, which would be a great person, try not to do it alone. It's really difficult. But if you must, you can get through it. Living proof. The first part was accepting help from someone from outside. And then the second part of acceptance is radical acceptance of your situation. If you have to live with a friend or a family member, if you're uncomfortable, if you are not in a space that you feel like you want to be, but you have to be, like if you're in rehab, or if you're, I don't know, anywhere, if you're not in your own element, in your own space, radical acceptance of that situation, of that temporary time in your life, is super key to allowing yourself to do the deeper healing. Because if you are constantly on edge and you're constantly complaining about where you're at, or you're thinking about not being happy about where you're at, and feeling like lower, like a low life or whatever, because you feel like you did something wrong, or like you've hit rock bottom or whatever, that is going to keep you in those cycles and in that program that you want to get out of. Our brains work on patterns. So you have to practice resetting that pattern in order to get the new habits. Otherwise, it'll try really hard to get back to those patterns. It's what it's used to. And it's your ego trying to keep you in a safe zone of what you're used to, of what is also not safe. But to you, you're so used to that and living in those states that your ego thinks that it is safe there, and it just doesn't want to change. So you have to kind of force that. And this is part of that forcing. Like, just sit to yourself one day, take a couple deep breaths, and look around and just say, okay, I'm here. And pull yourself into your body. I'm here now, and I have to be here now, but this is temporary. However long this takes is however long it needs to take for my healing and for me to become who I'm meant to be on the other side of this. That's super important in order for you to do anything else, because you won't get anything else done, like I said, if you don't accept where you're at. And it makes you a totally more pleasant person to be around anyway. if you accept where you're at, and just know that it's temporary. Know that there's a bigger plan. Know that you are going to get out of it and things are going to change once you break past these layers. You are fighting against where you're at constantly. It's resistance. Eliminating resistance will reduce the heaviness of your situation. The second step, number 2, is acknowledgement. This is sort of like the radical acceptance part, because you are openly acknowledging what your intentions are with yourself. You can journal this, or you can speak it out loud to yourself or to somebody else if you've got somebody that's helping you. Let your subconscious mind know that you're not wanting to run from this anymore. Obviously, if you're an addict, that's something that you've been doing, is running from these feelings, these heavy, depressive, sad, sorrow, whatever anxiety type feelings that you don't want to feel. So you're using substances, alcohol, to numb that out, or as a crutch or whatever. I totally did that, not gonna lie. But let your subconscious mind know that you're not doing that anymore. You don't want to do that anymore. You're gonna change. This is gonna start like judging things up for you. So take this slow or easy as you need to. I wrote letters to the people that had hurt me in my life. Like I wrote to my husband, and I wrote to my father, and I wrote, etc. Write to those people. Really get it out and tell them what you would tell them if you could tell them. Like, you hurt me, like whatever it is, like get it out of your body. The point is to get it out of your head and out of your body, out of your energy, onto the paper. Don't send these letters. It would not be helpful necessarily to anybody. It's mostly just for you. Just recognize the things that have happened to you that make you spiral into those places, that give you the anxiety, that give you flashbacks of memory, or put you into depressive episodes. Once those things are acknowledged, they can dissipate, and then you can get rid of these letters. You don't want to hold them in your space, because they're holding all of that energy, all the anger, all the hurt and sadness. So do what you will with them. Burn them safely or whatever. I don't know. But you want to get rid of them. Acknowledgement of what your intentions are, and acknowledging as a first step of the hurt that you have carried. And as a bonus, for you only, because you're not sending these letters and you don't really have to contact these people, because it's just, you don't need to. But if you can bring yourself to forgive them for the hurts that they've caused you, just for you, it's a really, really positive thing for you and your growth, and it's just so helpful. But if you're not ready, by all means, whenever you're ready, you can do that. If you ever decide to, it's totally up to you. I found that it helped me a lot to forgive, because it's just like, if you're holding resentment for somebody, it becomes a burden physically, and any of those emotions trapped in the body, it's been proven that they find a place to sit in your body, and then they fester and create disease and harm to your body. And I dealt with that actually with my back. It was insane. So step three is to grieve or feel or truly seek out those things, the other things that are holding you down and holding that weight in you. So a lot of practices that are good for this are like movement practices, because like I said, the emotions and unsettled things that need to be felt or acknowledged, they have found a place in your body, whether that's your back, your chest, your wrists, your hips. Like, there's lots of places that people experience this. But if you do start a movement practice, like something light, especially if you don't do any exercise or anything, like, don't hurt yourself, but some light yoga or breath work. Even breath work is a really good one. If you're a guy, breath work is something that a lot of men have found a lot of healing and release from, There's like whole classes offered for just men if you don't want to like cry in front of females or whatever. It's really good to do to get this stuff moving, to get it out of your body again, to let it dissipate, to acknowledge these things, to feel it. And if things come up and you need to cry, cry. Do whatever you're feeling in order to make that feeling, that emotion, that hurt, acknowledge it, make it felt. And there's nothing wrong with that feeling. Like everybody needs that. You know, we can only get rid of cortisol, and our cortisol is a stress hormone, and we can only get rid of cortisol through tears. I'm pretty sure that's a fact. So let yourself cry. If you need to go be alone, do that, but like, don't be ashamed of it. It's so normal and so natural, and it's so good. It feels so good to get that out. Step 4 is to self-express. So this is where things kind of get more fun. If you are not a creative person, totally fine. This is your chance. Do anything. Literally, we are creative beings. We are here to create life. We are here to create whatever it is that we want to create, because those are gifts that we were given, and everybody has a different gift. Some people have lots of gifts. The point is, this is where you're seeking to find that gift, to try everything possible until you find that thing that you just get lost in. Painting, drawing, music, making music, sculpting, magic, anything. Like there's art in everything. You can do math. If you love math, like there's so many things you could do to just there's a certain feeling that you're looking for though, and that's like really where you can feel like you lose track of time when you're doing it, and you get into the flow of your artistry. This is good for so many things. Like if you discipline yourself, if you find something that you want to learn and you're not so good at it, if you want to challenge yourself, this is so healthy. Challenge yourself to learn it, and you will go through so many things learning that skill. And it's so rewarding because you learn things about yourself, and you learn things about your patience, your ability to follow through, your whatever else. You develop a sense of appreciation for yourself if you are building self-love back at all. Like that's where I was. I was at the very bottom of the barrel with self-love. I did not realize it even. I thought I had a pretty good sense of confidence, and I definitely did not. And it took a long time to build up that confidence again and like really, truly fall in love with myself. But part of that discovery process was my art. I didn't even know that I used to draw when I was a kid. And I would draw things like SpongeBob and like a dog or things I would see. And I was pretty all right at it. But then I stopped doing it, just like, most hobbies. And then I didn't draw again until 2019. I didn't even know that I could. And it turns out I can. And I really enjoyed it. And I put that down even after I sunk into depression again in 2019. Like I tried to do it again in 2020. And at first I got really down, and I was like, I can't do this. And it wasn't flowing like it was before. And I just felt so empty. But the further that I tried to like experiment with different things, I was painting, and you can just write in general, creative writing or formal writing. If you enjoy that, that's something too. It's amazing. Like people are super talented all over the place in different niches. And it just takes that effort to really find that for yourself. And it's the best. And give yourself grace during these things when you're learning new art or learning a new skill, or even if you're practicing a skill that if you're picking something back up that you used to do, it is essential to give yourself love and grace and patience. Because in the end of this, like we only have us. You don't want to be hard on yourself. I always tell my daughter that. She's very, very hard on herself. especially when she tries new things. And I can't blame her, because I was exactly that way when I was little. I was very hard on myself. And she wants to learn things, and she'll start on the piano, or she'll start just anything new. And if she can't do it the very first time, she breaks down and doesn't want to do it anymore. And I keep telling her, like, you have to be nice to your little self on the inside, because if the more you yell at it and the more you get angry with your little self, the less and less it's going to want to try new things. And then when you go to what you're going to want to try something new on the outside, and your little self is not going to let you, and you're going to all of a sudden feel like you're holding back, and then you won't allow yourself to have any fun. You won't get to try new things because you've damaged that part. So you got to be really sweet and graceful and nice to your inner self. That's important. Step 6. This is the part of the spiritual journey or a self-development journey. So I would absolutely recommend to start on a self-improvement or self-development pathway, or a spiritual pathway. Spirituality can be anything. It is for the individual. So whatever you resonate, if you're a religious person, if you grew up with a certain religion, or you resonate with do some research. Look around. Most religions, I say most because some of them are freaky, but most religions have a similar or the same pathway. There's a guide or some sort of higher power that you walk with or surrender to or pray to or whatever, and they give you a good sense of morals and values to achieve and seek out a better version of yourself every single day. So that's a lot of self-reflection that it challenges, and it brings up. This is where you get shadow work that you hear about. It's really not as bad as you think it is. It sounds daunting, but it's really beautiful process. It sucks sometimes to really look at yourself. It sucks to do that journaling and be like, wow, I really need to straighten up, or I really need to grow up, or I really need to change this about myself. But that is the most admirable thing that you could do, is to really dedicate yourself to your better self every day, like to the achievement of your highest self every day. Wake up every day is a new day. Every moment is a brand new chance to be a different version of yourself. You don't have to stay the same. Like I was saying before, like your brain works on those patterns. Like this is where you're going to be challenging those patterns, and you're really going to pick up things to change your habits and to connect with something bigger than yourself. If you're on this self-development journey, like I guarantee you're probably going to end up on somewhat of a spiritual path, whatever it is that you find. It doesn't have to be a religion. People confuse spirituality and religion a lot. This is a really big thing for you to always have something to lean on, for you to have something to give your problems to. God is whatever you want it to be. Some people think God is female. Some people think God is male. Some people think God is bigger than that, which I do. I don't like to personify God. It's hard to not because of my Christian background, but like God is so much bigger than we even can fathom. And the word God is so boxed by religious cultures. God is boxed in by religions, in my opinion. This helps with many things, but it also gives you that sense of like something to strive better for every day. You want to have those goals, like ways you can develop your intuition. Even you can like we can have like superpowers. But you got to work on it. You got to shed some of your heaviness. You got to do that shadow work, and then you can lift up into the higher dimensions where you can utilize a lot of different spiritual gifts like clairvoyance, clairaudience, and telepathy and things like that. Like we can become superhuman, but we have to do the work. One thing that a self-development practice or spiritual practice will inevitably and eventually present to you is to create some sort of gratitude practice. I highly suggest this. This will change your attitude about life. Like if you are feeling cynical or feeling like you aren't seeing any manifestations, that things that you want to happen are not happening at all, or feel like they're not even close, start to thank the universe, thank God, thank whoever you're thinking, the creator, anything, something bigger than you. Thank God for the fact that you're breathing today, the fact that you can walk on both legs, the fact that your child is there with you. There are so many things to be grateful for in these moments. Like, we are so spoiled, not only in America, but in different parts of the world too, that we just get used to and we take for granted things that other people don't have. And it's once the universe starts to see that you are speaking positively about your circumstance, then that's when you can get more. That's when you get the blessings. Because if you are the universe only knows, yes, the universe is going to give you what you affirm in yourself and in your world. So if you are constantly complaining and saying what you don't have, and sad about what I don't have, sad about missing this, sad about money loss, sad about whatever, or mad about these things, the universe is going to just keep giving you more of that. Like, yes, you are sad. Yes, you are mad. Yes, you are broke. But, start twisting your words around. Change the way that you speak. This is something that's interesting too. You start to notice how you talk to yourself, how you speak to yourself. So a lot of people don't notice that. I felt like I didn't speak to myself in negative ways ever, like growing up and things. Like, I didn't. There are people that really get down on themselves, and their internal dialogue is constantly going, and it's just like a beating up on themselves all the time. Like, oh, you're so dumb, I can't believe you said that, and blah blah blah. Like, you got to stop that. And if you don't realize that it's happening, like, try to notice how you're talking to yourself, because that is some more things that you're affirming. You're training yourself how to look at yourself, and that is like super anti-self-love. And if you're not talking to yourself like that, like, you could be like me. I was speaking it outside myself, and I didn't. This is why I didn't notice it, because people would like compliment me or something, and then I would discount it a little and give an excuse as to why I was good at that for just a second or whatever. Or I would maybe pick it apart. Like, if they were complimenting a drawing of mine, I would say, it's not done. Like, I hate it. Or like, I think that this could be better or whatever. And that's like, those things are absolutely doing that. They're negatively affecting me and limiting myself as well. Like, I question things a lot. I'm a Virgo. I have to like really see structure and see things logically. And that hurts me a lot because, and I didn't know this again, but whenever there would be like something possible for me or some sort of dream that I would want to, see happen, a dream that I would want to fulfill, I would start to pick it apart and find all of the things that could go wrong so that I could write them, so that I could avoid them as obstacles. But in doing that, I'm also starting to compound the like limits and the barricades. And eventually I'd be like, oh, okay, that's too much. There's too many things. Like, it's just not going to happen. And that's a self-limitation. Huge, huge. I'm still working on that. That's really difficult to get out of, but it's just, you gotta do the extra critical thinking about yourself and self-analyzation. Journal a lot. It's helpful. Just write whatever's coming to mind, like for 10 minutes straight. Just write whatever's in your head. Get all of the things that are in your forefront of your mind out. And then everything that comes next is your subconscious mind, your higher self, your spirit guides. your ancestors, like things, messages that you're supposed to hear and know and get out. And that's almost guaranteed. So I feel like a librarian. Oh, there were 7 steps. Okay. So, well, the 7th step is just sort of like how to maintain this. 7th step is integration and maintenance. So, this is the application of all of the things that you have accumulated. However much time has passed, it was like a year for me, fully, I think, before I could really say and affirm that I was out of the depression and that I was in a new state of mind and happier, because it was just a lot of work. But then this was when the challenges come, because life is not always going to be rainbows and butterflies. It's just always going to have challenges with that. There's duality in our universe. And one thing, this is a good one. I'll say it in a second. There's duality in our universe. So there's going to be good and bad. So you kind of have to prepare for the bad sometimes, and you have to take the bad and know that it's not going to be the end, because the only thing in the universe that's guaranteed is change. Everything's temporary. Everything is short-lived, or for however long you need to be in that lesson or whatever. The sooner that you can start seeing your circumstances as lessons and be thankful for them, because it's for your self-growth, because we can't grow unless we go through bad things, hard things, challenges. That's just how we grow. And it can be looked at as tragedy, or it can be looked at as opportunity, and be grateful for it. I'd rather be grateful for it and look at it as an opportunity to learn, rather than wallow in the tragedy and feel all those horrible feelings for longer than I need to. I mean, there's people die and you need to grieve, be in those spaces, let yourself feel those things for sure. But there comes a point where you've got to pull yourself out of there. Otherwise, you're just slipping back into depression. So anyway, hopefully by now you've learned some skills, and you've creative skills. Those are where you're channeling your emotions into, your hard things to deal with. You're going to run to your journal. You're going to run to the computer for music, the piano, whatever. That's where you're putting that energy now. You're going to open the tarot deck. You're going to open the Bible. You're going to open whatever it is you're getting that source of spiritual goodness from. Listen to a lot of music. I want to repeat that because I know I said that earlier, but find the music that really makes you happy, or not just happy, but makes you feel good. I wouldn't listen to breakup songs if you just got out of a relationship. Maybe you can though, if you want to feel it, and if you want to dredge that up so that you can let that pass. Good idea. I know it's sad and it sucks and it hurts. And if it hurts too bad, just move on from that and listen to something else. But music is a universal healer. There are certain frequencies in music that, in certain music, obviously, that are they change your state of mind. They change your frequency as well. If you don't know very good music, I have so much music that I can give you that is just the most incredible music that nobody dislikes. So there's that. In this maintenance phase of keeping up with your morale, keeping up your spirits, trying to avoid depression and things like that, you don't want to concentrate on avoiding depression. You want to just make goals, achievable goals for your betterment. Make goals for your accomplishments. Make goals for things that you want to learn. Make goals for travel, anything something you can look forward to that's realistic. So the reason this is so important is because our brains, like I was saying earlier, they work in patterns, and they will, like a yo-yo or a rubber band, like snap right back into your habits and into your thinking patterns if you don't maintain this practice. Like, you can't just come out of this and say, oh, I'm done with all my spiritual work. I'm done with my self-work. I am never going to be depressed again. This takes work. a lot every day. And you have to face your challenges with these coping mechanisms that you develop, and the new mindsets that you're developing and having. You have to practice them, you have to use them, because like I said, otherwise you'll just revert back and it's all will have been a wasted effort. If you have taken the steps to do this by yourself, and um, hopefully somewhere in your creative pursuits you may have found groups of people that do these things, or maybe you've taken a class and met other people that have similar hobbies. You want to find people that think like you in this phase. If you've not done it prior, you want to do it during step 7 when you're in your integration. We only learn through other people as well. We like, how do we learn about ourselves if we don't have relationships? This is romantic or platonic. Like, you learn about yourself because you people mirror you back to you. And when you're like, if you're out somewhere and you see somebody that does something that really bothers you and you're judging them like harshly, that is because there's something in you that you don't like that is similar to that, or maybe even the same. And it is something for you to fix. It's something for you to notice. That's a trigger for yourself to be like, what would be an example of that? Somebody you work with is just a liar, and you hear them tell a lie to somebody else, to some other coworker about something stupid, and you just like start talking crap about them, and you're just like, so and so is such a liar, like I can't believe that they just lie all the time, blah blah blah. That's probably because somewhere about you, something about you, like you probably lie about something and you're not even realizing it. So like it's a shift. It's like a zoom out shift kind of thing. Like, whoa, why am I judging that person so harshly? What is going on in me? And those are opportunities for growth. Those are opportunities for self-work. There's going to be times in your life that you feel like you've done all the self-work. You feel like you've hit a plateau. You feel like, well, how else do I grow? Like, what else? Like, you're among your peers and everybody's kind of at the same like level, so to speak. That's when you want to become extra aware. It's when you want to zoom out of certain situations and certain thought processes, and really think about like, why am I thinking like that? And what did I just say to you? Kind of like, that was not like it was a knee-jerk reaction of something you said that really hurt someone else. Becoming aware of your effect on other people is also, there's just so many ways for you to grow all the time. We're never going to stop growing. And it's really fun to, in my opinion, it's fun to challenge yourself in those ways and to really get deep. And we can only meet others as deeply as we've met ourselves. So if you want that like incredible love relationship, that's like deep, deep bond that you'll never find in another person, you got to find that deep